Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to look at NFL Fantasy and the tight end tier list. So the last in this series, looking at the players or the key players that we will look at for our fantasy teams this season, whether it's a draft or a snake draft, I should say, an auction draft, or even perhaps the Sports Deck Dream Team, which at the time of recording isn't available. But perhaps by the time this video comes out, given it's the last in the series, it may already be open. So all the links will be in the videos below, and the descriptions below the videos for those leagues if you want to join in. But we'll talk about tight ends. So tight ends, I suppose they're sort of usually one on every team, and they're sort of a bit of a utility role in that they sometimes act as just blockers for the running backs and the wide receivers, or I should say the quarterbacks, passing to wide receivers. But they are actually able to be receivers and catch the ball. So we've probably got a couple of tiers of tight ends that you may want to target and may actually score you points. And then the sort of lower tiers are the sort of players you've got to start one. So I'm just going to throw one in there. And so both strategies are viable. Some people like to have the elite tight end because it makes their overall team look better. Last year, for example, I just waited for a rookie because there was a few good ones. And as it turned out, the one I got on, Sam Laporta, was pretty good at football. So much so, I'll kick off with him. He's in the S tier of tight ends. And I guess, he sort of projected to be an elite college level talent. Went to a team where they had used the tight end quite a lot. TJ Hawkinson was formerly there. Even their head coach, Dan Campbell, is a former tight end. So I think, I sort of lined all that up and thought, well, they might use him quite a bit. And use him they did. He absolutely killed it. And, I think he'll be in the conversation for the top three again. I haven't got him as number one, though. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce as number one. The Lieutenant General for Pat Mahomes, essentially. He always makes big plays when Pat needs someone. He in such a great offensive team that the Chiefs are, he's probably their number one receiver, which is pretty scary. So, for that reason, he does go quite high in drafts. Last year, he was going in round one. Such was the positional advantage that he offers. But, Sam Laporta went toe-to-toe with him, which just sort of proves that, you don't have to go big in the tight end space. Some people do. Some people don't. And again, it just comes down to personal preference. Might be pushing it a bit, throwing one more in there, but I'm going to put Mark Andrews in there as well. Probably, the clear number three tight end option behind these two. So realistically, it'd be like this, and then we'd start loading up from B. But I'll give Andrews a bit of credit. He's always been a reliable option for Lamar Jackson to throw to. And, if you can't get one of these guys and Andrews is on the board in, the sort of 6th, 7th round, you grab him pretty comfortably. Next level down is a couple of guys like Trey McBride's pretty popular. He had a massive sort of second half of the season once he became tight end one. Whether that continues, it remains to be seen, but he's probably, in this second tier of tight ends. Dalton Kincaid is sort of projecting to be the number one receiver at the Bills now that Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis have moved on. And if you've got Josh Allen thrown at you, it's usually not a bad spot to be in. George Kittle, he is part of that massive offense at the 49ers. Does have the ability to have big breakout scores. But when you've got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk around you, sometimes you just don't see the ball. So it's a little bit inconsistent, but has the upside to get him on this sort of level. And I feel like I'm missing someone that we should cover here, but maybe not. Next level, I'm going to put Evan Ingram. So just sort of like a banker type option for Trevor Lawrence, sort of like a Travis Kelce is to Pat Mahomes, just not to the level of Travis Kelce, and Trevor Lawrence isn't quite to the level of Pat Mahomes. um, Jake Ferguson, I've got pretty high. He was another one of these rookies last year. Sort of, I guess, went a little bit under the radar given how good Sam Laporta was. But I think after CeeDee Lamb, he is probably one of the more targeted options there at the Cowboys. So decent spot to be. Excuse me. Kyle Pitts is one I forgot to mention. He's probably A tier. Just given the upgrade at quarterback there at Atlanta, so he's been pretty hot for the 3 years he's been in the league. Just probably hasn't been able to show it based on the quarterbacks he's had thrown to him. Last year they were very run heavy, which sort of limited his upside as well. But I think one that could sneak into the A tier potentially. Let's go Luke Musgrave. So sort of similar to Jake Ferguson. Probably just slightly less targeted by Jordan Love there at the Packers. And I guess in terms of this year's rookies, the one to watch out for is Brock Bowers. So drafted, I should say, to the Raiders. Aside from Devontae Adams, there's not a lot. And I think they said he is actually like the most athletic tight end, like in terms of their combine results in history. So you imagine he could get pretty open and do a bit there. After that, I guess some solid options to consider are like a Dallas Goedert, David Njoku. So, if you're sort of not keen on getting one of these elite options, and these guys sort of, disappear off the board, you can grab a couple of these guys and just chop and change as you need to. Cade Otton was okay for parts last year. Cole Kmet, it could be interesting to see with the Bears' upgraded offense how he goes. Tyler Conklin could benefit from Aaron Rodgers. TJ Hawkinson's probably one I forgot to mention, but it's probably about this level at the moment. I'll probably put him up there. I'll put a bit more respect on his name. Dalton Schultz, is he number one? Dawson Knox not there, so I guess he's number one at Houston, so he'd probably be there. Oh, Pat Fryman is probably another one that should be a bit higher up. So it could even be like this, just to even it out a bit. And then, excuse me, after that, you can see a couple of guys will be number 2 on their team, or they spend more time blocking than they do actually catching passes. So Juwan Johnson, I think, goes all right. Put him in. No Taysom Hill. He probably, he's a bit of a jack of all trades. They usually name him a tight end, but he can do everything. But that's pretty much the tight ends. As I said, you go fairly early on an elite option. Again, I probably wouldn't go too much earlier than round 4. Just given you want to try to get running backs, wide receivers, they will on average score better than tight ends. But these are the elite options, and then work your way down from there. And if you got these guys, as I said, grab a couple and just mix and match depending on matchups and form and the like. But sure one, we'll wrap it up there. So as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, add them below this video. Also below the video, the description, get on the links, join the leagues. Give us a like if you enjoy the NFL content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.